For a bit of a change, what did I want to play? Which sort of place? I do believe there are 4 left to be explored. There's the Mediterranean, Greece, Near East, and Asia. Let's start off with Near East. I do believe I have played this, but I have only played the demo, not the actual place itself. In the final version of the game, well, maybe not so final. There are a couple of factions over here to play. The Canaanites, I've been misreading them for the longest time. They're not the Canaanites, they're the Canaanites. They're from Canaan, the land of milk and honey. They're, of course, very hard to play. You get other factions. The Babylonians and the Elamites are hard to play. The Assyrians, the Mitanni, and the Hittites are of medium difficulty. And then there's the Egyptians and the Mycenaeans that are easy to play. I'm going to play as the Egyptians. They're an easy faction, which is precisely why I'm picking them for this playthrough, since I want to dip my toes into the highest difficulty level. Has been suggested, and I might as well try. I'm not sure if I can manage, but I can try. Let's check the victory conditions first and foremost. I could hypothetically hike that up to 10, so as not to have a faction overtake me and win, snatching victory off of my hands. 3-point conditions are wealth and power tax, which is somewhat annoying since wealth can just be accumulated and there's very little you can do to prevent people from getting that. Power technologies can also be essentially accumulated over time. You keep on spending knowledge, you keep on acquiring those power techs. There's very little that can be done about that. There's very little that can be done about most of these, I guess. It's not particularly interactive. You can try to rein in a particular faction, and you can say, try not to have them capture your cities, to not give them the captured cities victory points. But you can't really particularly effectively stop them from accumulating wealth. You can desperately try to attack them at that point because they're not pumping power and therefore are vulnerable, but as long as they are willing to concede some territory, which they usually are at that particular point, there's basically zilch you can do to stop them. So there's that. These are the remaining victory conditions. Spaces for 1, which on this map might be very difficult to accomplish even with my faction. There's power, pumped to 12. Hypothetically feasible, however, difficult to combine with wealth, since you'd have to first save wealth, save an excess of wealth, and then get up to 12 power before running out of wealth for this victory condition, since all of these have to be completed at the same time. City pop is reasonably easy to reach. It's one of the most common things that are ever reached in this game, no matter what number of crowns is expected. Same goes for the Colossus. Factions usually have armies and fleets, and they usually have citizens. Everything else is difficult to accomplish. The spaces on the map, you basically have to negotiate. You have to get them off of enemies. It's next to impossible in quite a few circumstances. Pumping power can be particularly difficult, especially for the AI that doesn't get opportunities. Captured cities are notoriously difficult because factions tend to defend themselves. Power tax requires substantial investments over time. So it's not like they're not acquired, but they're not acquired first. Same goes for wealth. That usually is the objective factions acquire as the last one. They save up wealth and then they win, as they reap the rewards, as they get all those crowns. The first things they tend to get are armies and fleets and city pop, so with the Colossus and the pyramids. What am I aiming for over here? I could hypothetically go for wealth, power tax, and something else. Or I could just get wealth, armies, fleets, and city pop. The most vanilla sort of thing one could possibly imagine. Just build your cities up, get 7 armies or possibly fleets, and then save up wealth to win. Very straightforward. At least in principle. Playing at Master is going to be a completely different story. The Egyptians are industrious. They start out with 20 food, 30 units of wealth, and 30 units of science. New cities don't cost more than previous ones, so this is the faction that would have you build many tiny cities. A plethora of tiny little hamlets. Growing... Oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. Growing cities takes 20% less. So this is the faction that has the advantage when it comes to constructing new cities and growing existing cities. So cities, just cities, all sorts of dwellings. City pop is going to be trivial to accomplish with these. Do Egyptians get aid from aliens? Have you... Oh my goodness, what is the name of this game? Have you seen Exmolf Defense and the mission in Egypt? I mean, if you haven't, then... I guess it's good that I ask at this particular point, because that's the first thing that pops to my mind. Egyptians, aliens, and the assumption that there's a connection that's made over there. Although most of the time I tend to make references no one gets anyway. That's just rolling with it. Well, either way, if you know, you know. If you don't, then you don't. Is there a reference to Egyptian aliens? Well, there's an idea planted in the antagonist's head. Let's put it that way. It's quite amusing. It's basically in the intro, so you can look it up anywhere. It's brilliant. Actually, yeah, it is the intro. Immediately after planetfall, it's the bit of back and forth you get. On one hand, what you get as your briefing, and on the other hand, what the humans discuss between each other as they're out there trying to do their thing, desperately trying to protect the planet. To no avail, of course. I really should get back to that game considering the DLCs. But anyway, let's not get distracted. Or rather, I shouldn't get distracted. The downside to playing this faction is that flag techs are more expensive and food technologies are more expensive. Which is quite annoying. I do love food techs. Having plenty of food can be particularly beneficial, especially early on when you have plenty of things to flag. Further down the line, you do spend food on building additional cities and growing the cities you have, plus moving the army. This faction has the costs lower, but at the same time, getting that food in the first place is going to be difficult. And I am going to play on Master. Logos help me. I used to play on Professor. I started out playing on Scholar, then jumped to Professor reasonably quickly, going through Tutor, and now I'm giving it a go. For the first time on Master, let's see if I manage. This is what the AI gets. Plus 20 wealth a turn, a flat bonus every single passing turn from the very first turn. That's crucial, because obviously the flat advantage is going to be the most impactful early on in the game. The later you go, the less 20 pounds or 20 units of wealth are going to net you. Even though that's still a substantial sum, by any stretch of the imagination. Plus 20% self-wealth, however, is a percentage. And it's going to be impactful the entire game through. I'm not sure I can manage. However, as I have already mentioned, I get opportunities the AI doesn't. So it's not necessarily imbalanced, and I'm trying to do this with an easy-to-play faction. It's explicitly marked as easy. It's not marked as very easy. I could have tried it with such a faction. I do believe they exist, but an easy faction nonetheless. I should be able to manage. Presumably the first thing we should do when playing as the Egyptians is flag the little Nile tiles. What would be the hardest faction? The hardest faction on this particular map are the Canaanites that I have been mispronouncing for the longest time. Canaanites from the land of Canaan. These guys, right in the middle of things. Winning with them is quite a challenge. I don't think I'm going to attempt that on Master. I hypothetically could, but I'm not sure I'm enough of a masochist. And you can imagine why winning with them on this particular map can prove to be difficult, to put it mildly. They're just surrounded by foes. What are they supposed to do? They're just here. Surrounded by hostiles from every single direction, and they're just desperately trying to dig in, survive, and most importantly, win. I have also pointed this out in another video. Trying to survive as the Canaanites is not the point. Trying to attack is suicidal. The thing to do is to get the victory points, because that's what the game is about. And that's what one should focus on. The flag techs, unfortunately, are quite expensive for my faction, so I'm not sure if I should go for them. I could hypothetically go for yields right off the bat. Is that the way to go? I start out with 20 food, and I could hypothetically get even more food every single passing turn if I do not invest in those silly flag tags. It's not the worst of ideas, all things considered. Look at the variety of tiles I have at my disposal. I have the river tiles, some plain tiles, and plenty of the desert. Flagging the sea, of course, is a very questionable choice because you get nothing out of the sea initially. So let's not. Let's get food out of the rivers. Might have been a mistake, might have not been. We shall see. Oh, and of course a grassland tile right here. Just for the sake of variety. I've managed to flag 4 things, and my income in terms of food next turn is going to be paltry, but we'll get there. I'm mostly going to be trading for food. All of that wealth I'm getting. I'm not really getting much wealth though, am I? Not that much. But I'll have to work on that. They do use the British pound symbol. You know, had they used the dollar symbol, nobody would have batted an eyelid, would they have? But yes, they're using the pound symbol to denote wealth, and I am perfectly okay with that. I'm not going to make that much of a deal out of it, that, you know, the fighting misconceptions and so on, because that's kind of silly, but at the same time, why not? We all understand what this means. It's a currency symbol, that's what it is. And that's all it is. Alright, and now I'm effectively getting 4 more units of food out of every single river tile, every single turn. I think that might have been worth it. Might have been worth it to not get flag tags initially. Now, of course, I would love to be able to get, well, anything, but I'm not sure getting a single flag tag this turn is worth it. I might just trade for science and try to get something next turn. But that would have to be well thought out. That would have to be well argued for. Maybe 20 units of science to be spent on science out of river tiles. Now the Canaanites are taking my precious little tiles. However, I do have power here, so I win any contest. Let's nab that off of them as quickly as I possibly can. Will I be able to make it all the way through here? Down the hill? We shall see. Obviously, I should try to... Yes, I should try to flag the river tile because it gives me 2 units of food. The Pillars of Heracles. Look, once again, these are little pictograms, and I think it's fairly obvious, or at least fairly easy to remember what each of them represents. They serve a purpose, and I believe they serve it particularly well. They're supposed to represent very abstract concepts. You could have had, what, a little sack of gold or something? But even then, if you have a sack of gold, you usually mark it, and if you're gonna mark it, you're presumably gonna mark it with a dollar sign or something. A free sea flag, all the food out of plain tiles. AU. Yes, brilliant! Because that wouldn't be anachronistic at all, as compared to the pound symbol. Come on! Alright, 5 science acquired every single turn. So let's stop trading for it, continue massively trading for food. What do I do now? What do I do? Let's get more food out of crop rotate. Have I seriously not redeemed that last turn? See, that's what happens. That's what happens. I lose focus. I lose track of what I'm doing. Let's redeem both. Get the food. Flag the river tile, obviously. Flag these 2 flanking tiles of plains, and just like that we are basically done with anything that is not either the sea or the desert. I could hypothetically try to go for the hills. Ooh. If I do not go for the hills and the Canaanites get those, I'm going to be severely miffed. I do need those hills, they yield plenty of gold, as they tend to in quite a few of these games. But on the other hand, I am not about to give up on these tiles, am I? Actually, I can get them at any point. No, hold on. Let's be smart about this. First of all, I redeem both of these, obviously. I do go for the hill tile, so do I make flagging hills easier? I can't actually do that, because you need a single hill tile under your control to be able to make flagging that type of terrain easier. If I get this, I retain 3 points, so let's get 2 plain tiles instead. I'll get the final river tile further down the line, and are we trading for food fully? Should we, or would that be full-ish? I would love to have better yields off of hills. I would also potentially love to have an easier time flagging hills, because that's going to become a problem very, very soon. Although if I'm to flag, then maybe, just maybe, I should focus on trading for food that I use to flag. But no, let's try to trade for science, then get us huge surge in flag tax. I could hypothetically trade all that for just wealth gains every single passing turn. But no? Or science off of hills? I think I'll bite the bullet and get flag tax. Once again, I'm playing on Master, so I'm not sure what the right choices are. It's rough. What will the Canaanites flag? Mostly food, so they ignore the hills over here entirely. Get all the sea flag tags, or get a flag tag for flagging 5 things all at once in a single turn. Not gonna happen. Too difficult. I love yields, but I'll get those yields further down the line, I promise. Alright. Now let's use the food that I have to flag what I can. Oh, I'm tempted to flag the... I can't flag these, so that's 17. Fine, let's mess with the Canaanites to some extent by flagging this. Actually, this seems particularly dumb. If they try to contest this, I lose. And if I lose that, I might as well just lose. Unless I get a power tech right here, right now. I see no reason not to. Other than, you know, the obvious fact that I'm spreading myself thin. But other than that, no reason. Let's also trade for science, and we will get more wealth every single passing turn out of every single hill tile. Let's go with that. Everything else is traded for food. I'm not acquiring an army because that's particularly expensive. I sincerely hope I'm not spreading myself thin, as I have mentioned. This is the highest difficulty level, and that's particularly high. The odds are against me, even though, once again, this is an easy faction. And arguably, I've been doing really well on a difficulty level below that with medium factions, so maybe, just maybe I can manage. Stone cutting is absolutely amazing if you have enough hill tiles. This will require a bit of patience, but I think this is the way to go. A single silly little desert flag would be nice. It gives me gold every single passing turn, but I'll think long term. I'll go for stone cutting. I could redeem it for 6 gold right here, right now, or wealth, or whatever you want to call it. But no. Let's instead get wealth of every single one of those tiles to get 2 more units of wealth for every single hill tile. And let's flag more hill tiles. This did not get contested, they just got that tile. And I'm heading south through here. I'm also getting this river tile. Trading everything for food. Of course. This probably is the way to go. An army has been deployed by the Assyrians. I'm trying to recall all the factions. I got used to them on some other maps. Yes, like China. I could name all the factions on the China map, so I have to get used to the Near East now. Irrigation. It's quite a lot of food. I'll build a city on hills for like hill yield tech. Tempting, it will also allow me to fortify in the area, but that costs a lot of food. I'd rather get food right here, right now. Let's do it. 36. Let's make flagging hills as cheap as it possibly can be. Continue flagging hills, and now I have a bit of a choice. I can either start flagging sea tiles or desert tiles. And as unintuitive as this may sound, it's better to go for the desert as far as I can tell. Here's why. Because baseline, a single desert tile nets you 1 unit of wealth. The sea gives you nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the sea at most can give you 1, 1, 1, whereas the desert can give you 1, 2, 1. So let's go for the desert. Even though I have no desert flag text, so this is going to be excruciatingly painful in terms of how many resources I'll have to expend flagging this silly little desert. And of course I'm trading everything for food. I could hypothetically save up, but do I want to defend myself desperately against the Canaanites? It's not like they're gonna attack me, or is it? I'm still not redeeming stone cutting. I want significantly more hill tiles. I also want those precious little hill tiles all the way to the southwest. I'll get there eventually. As you can see, armies are getting deployed by all sorts of action. The Mycenaeans over here, the Assyrians have had those for a while, and they are currently threatening both the... Who are you people? These are the... Are these the Elamites? No, these are the Mitanni. These are the Elamites. Yes, these are the Elamites. These are the Babylonians, the Canaanites, the Egyptians, the Mycenaeans, the Mitanni, Assyrians, and the Hittites. Fair enough. So yes, currently the Assyrians are threatening the Babylonians, the Canaanites, and the... Wow. The Mitanni? Yes. Yes, these are the Mitanni. I've second-guessed myself so hard. Alright. I can get additional food out of the whopping 2 grassland tiles I have. Or, you know, I could try to make flagging the desert a bit less of a pain. Or I could hypothetically try to get some resource yields out of them. I could also say try to get science out of hills. Either way, waiting is an option and sounds increasingly tempting. 44, and I just need 30 to get more science from here. So how about I make flagging the desert the tiniest of bits easier? It's 39. I could make it even cheaper. And then trade some of the wealth. Fine. I'll get the wealth off of the desert anyway. It's exactly 30. Very well. Let's continue flagging like crazy. And let's start flagging the sea to eventually deploy some fleets, maybe steal some sea tiles off of my foes. The Erlenmeyer flask, yes, yes. Once again, these are pictograms. And I guess the in-universe expectation, the explanation... Oh, come on, Vestin. Anyway, hold on. I get a free hill flag, I need to use it to get this hill, and then make flagging the desert easier. And, you know, start flagging the desert. Sheesh. There we go, I'm on my way to these hills. But yes, the in-universe explanation is that you're effectively playing a board game. Which makes perfect logical sense. So yes, the symbols are going to be seemingly somewhat anachronistic, but that's fine. The Mycenaeans, well, I can't have everything all at once. And I do know that the Mycenaeans can be quite a threat. You can see the power situation all the way over here, with the most powerful factions at the top. I am down here, in deep. I'm just slightly better off than the Canaanites. But I guess, yeah, I will try to flag the coastline. And presumably I'll be able to deploy some armies over there. We'll see. Place 3 flags on the desert to get all the desert flag tags. Oh dear, but I have 2 out of 3 already. Still makes sense though. Own 3 cities and rivers is significantly more likely. Yes, the Canaanites are not a threat. You are absolutely correct. The Mycenaeans tend to be the biggest threat. They take all of these island tiles that yield wonderful things, they get fleets, and it's very difficult to assault them because you have to go through the sea, and basically no one really gets fleets. So I have to worry about them most of all. Alright. Science out of what exactly? Could get a decent bang for... Actually, let's get wealth off of planes. Interesting. It's reasonably meaningful. And let's get 30 science next turn. Just so I can get even more wonderful stuff. I can also fortify a tiny bit. Not that much, but it can be done. And it would help against enemy incursions. At a cost, though, obviously. Fine, let's get a little city over here. We'll make flagging in the region easier, deploying armies over here easier. But of course, presumably all those tiles will be soon lost. Unless I decide to deploy an army, which is not outside of the realm of possibility. I can save up the tiniest of bits and have enough for an army of my own the very next turn. And I'll miss out on an opportunity unless I proc stone cutting right here, right now. Which I guess might make sense. It's better than wasting the opportunity. Fine, procking. I go all the way up to 38, which means I can spend a bit more on food. Is there anything I would particularly like? Something out of the desert? Science, maybe? Fine, let's get science out of the desert tiles. This will come in handy very soon. Especially since I will keep on flagging those additional desert tiles. With every passing turn. Enough for an army. Enough to get science out of the desert. Seems reasonable. I'll presumably still have to trade for food if I want all those tiny cities in the region, especially along the coastline, as you have also wisely mentioned. But, we'll see. There's so many things I'm trying to do at once, and if I spread myself too thin and do not a single one of them well, that's going to end poorly. Build a city on a river for a river yield tech. What river yield techs am I missing? I could get more food, and actually this is pretty compelling. I do have a number of river tiles, and this seems to be the most annoying when you have one or two tiles of a given type. You lose one of them by building a city on top of it just to get more yields out of another one. Pointless. But if I have substantively few of those river tiles, I might as well opt to go for it. I don't think I'll be able to place 10 flags in a single turn anytime soon, but I can reasonably easily flag this right here, right now. And now, getting more food out of every single river tile becomes quite meaningful. That's quite a lot of food every single passing turn. Also, let's spend the wealth to dispatch an army right here and flag this desert tile. I'll not be contested there because I emanate enough power with the army. Let's also get more wealth out of every single hill. I only have 4 of those, so it's not that meaningful. Trading is kind of meaningless considering the fact that I only have a single unit of wealth right now. So whatever I spend that single unit of wealth on doesn't really matter. But I can use this army to harass, well, anyone I choose to, really. I have to keep an eye out for what the Babylonians are up to. The Babylonians also tend to be a threat. If you stop the Mycenaeans from winning, the Babylonians tend to be the ones to take charge. Caravans, all desert yield techs to have movement cost across deserts. This is incredibly powerful. Incredibly so. Especially since there are so many desert tiles, I'll presumably want to trek across all the time. So yes, let's go for that. Granted, the upfront cost... What have I done? I was supposed to get science out of the desert. Well then. That can still be done. And it will presumably eventually be done. Alright. I do have some power here, but so do the Canaanites. They seem to have gotten the same power tech. So do I march my army south through the hills, which is quite expensive, and try to flag that? Or do I go for some juicy target elsewhere? Let's march them down, try to threaten, and flag. I'm going to miss out on an opportunity. unfortunately, but there's little that can be done about that at this stage. Let's also continue trading for food massively. I'm not getting a second army, not quite yet. What do I want to spend my science on? Possibly better yields from planes. So 6 small science every passing turn. We are getting the ball rolling, but of course we're in a reasonable spot, but not that great of a one. We are in the middle of the pack, as far as our position is concerned. And of course, our position over here is only measured based on victory condition progress. However, thankfully, we are on the periphery. Thus, we are not particularly bothered by, say, the belligerent Assyrians. Belligerent, more bellicose, really. Or the Hittites over here, messing with the poor, unfortunate Canaanites, desperately trying to survive. Essentially, we are the only faction that's not being pestered by our neighbors. Mostly because these guys haven't reached us yet, although, as you have mentioned, yeah, we presumably ought to flag the coast. Otherwise, we are going to have neighbors over here very soon. Harvest Festival, all philosophy. Rejecting philosophy is particularly painful for me, but it's the way it's gotta be. More science out of here. Or do I make flagging the desert cheaper? Because that sounds like a particularly wise idea. Do I not want to flag the desert? What opportunities do I have though? I should flag the sea. I actually place 3 flags out of the desert to get all the desert flag text, so I shouldn't get that. If I want to, I want to redeem this. I don't want to get this myself. I just need to flag more desert tiles, which is fairly trivial. 1, 2, water skins procced. Let's get this silly little hill. And these 2 desert tiles. Do I want a second army? No, let's just keep on trading for food. I could pump my power the tiniest of bits to mess with the Canaanites and try to get this off of them. But I think that would be much better accomplished by just getting a power tech over there. I don't know, so many things need to get done, and they need to get done in short order. Otherwise, as you can see, the Mycenaeans are over here. The Mycenaeans are at the gates. I'll have to kick them out of my own territory very, very soon, or things will end very poorly for me. The good news is that I didn't have to pump my power at all. I wasn't forced to do that, and that's particularly costly. They are mostly messing with each other, and the more they are messing with each other, the more I am free to do my thing, which is great. 10 science per city or conquer plain space. Nope. I think I'll take it, possibly redeem it right now. I could build yet another city, and it wouldn't be the worst of ideas to do that, frankly. I could build it right here, but then I'll deprive myself of the opportunity to build a city there. It's still a reasonably good idea, I think. So let's put this here. It'll make flagging easier. I can deploy armies over there reasonably expediently and so on. Let's get all the science I can, so that's plus 40. Let's flag what little I can flag. What can I spend this extra science on? Well, I can spend science to get more science every single passing turn, or I could get some more food off of, say, the hills. That food would come in handy, wouldn't it? It's particularly expensive for my faction. So I'm tempted to go with that. I would love to get those desert yields, but they are so expensive. Let's get more food instead. Next turn I'll have 69. Nice. I just need 50, so if I spend the 25, I will absolutely have 50 spending nothing, and then I'll be able to spend that 50 to get more science. They can't run out of resources. Well, let me put it this way. They are actively spending resources, harassing one another. In order to be able to attack one another, they need to actively spend gold every single turn to pump power. Which means that they are expending resources, trading blows. And as if they are expending resources on these sorts of hopeless pursuits and remain largely in balance, that's to my advantage. Because they're not accomplishing anything, They're not hindering me, and yet they are expending resources doing something. Every single thing they can do that expends their resources and doesn't harm me is beneficial to me. I mean, this sort of thing happens in real life as well, doesn't it? You really want your enemies to do the most pointless thing imaginable with the resources that doesn't actively harm you. If one power dominates the other, you have a problem. Correct. That's why you have to be very selective in who you harass. Leave the underdogs alone, so they don't perish, so that they don't get gobbled up, they don't lose their territory, and try to maintain a balance of power. Yes. Absolutely. And let me reiterate, this is a very simple game. It's the most bare-bone 4X you can possibly imagine. It's tiny, it's extremely simple, and yet all of those dynamics play out of the very simple mechanics present. I think it's delightful. It's very easy to get a grasp on what's going on because you have a single screen. The resources are very limited, very simple to understand. It's all just absolutely delightful. And yet, these dynamics still play themselves out as if it was any other 4X out there. You could consider it a digital board game, however, there's a number of annoying calculations that I'm really glad people don't have to make in their heads. Calculating the power level on every single one of those tiles to check if it's threatened or not, and then calculating every single factor to see whether you take it or not, it would be incredibly tedious in practice. I mean, I do it from time to time in my head just so I can predict future moves, but thankfully most of the time I can just rely on the game showing me the information rather than counting tokens or keeping notes or whatever. So the fact that it actually happens over here automatically and the tedium is stripped away is wonderful. Let's see, currency or the fruit orchard? The fruit orchard is pretty tempting, and I'll retain this as an opportunity if I get galleys. Do I want to threaten the Canaanites? They are in enough of a pickle, I would say, as it is. So let's not. Let's not. So, once again, what do I want? More science out of desert tiles, I believe. 13 more units of science every single passing turn. Leaving me with 65 next turn. Curious. I could also stop drastically trading for food and deploy an army next turn, but we'll see about that. I just need one more sea tile to make flagging sea tiles cheaper. There we go, galleys acquired. But of course, with absolutely no sea yields, this is quite pointless, unless I get some sea yields, which can be done. Let's do that. Let's not save up wealth that much. Let's get yields out of the sea. This is going to be annoyingly difficult. I guess I'll have to get those precious fleets, won't I? Right, let's flag these two hill tiles and flag as much of the desert as I can safely flag. This is absolutely safe to flag, so there's no point. It will not get contested. I might as well get that. Alright. Let's see what the next turn brings. Can I have... I won't have 50 foot, so I won't be able to proc the orchard, unfortunately. I also do need to keep in mind that I am just here to collect victory conditions, not to conquer. And we are getting dangerously close to the mid-game, so I need to keep that in mind as well. How much power do the Mycenaeans have? 3 wealth per desert tile from salt mining, my goodness. The Mycenaeans are currently at what? Two power per unit, not that much. I should deploy an army sometime soon and kick them out of this city. They have nothing there. It's reasonably convenient. Let's get more wealth out of every... Ooh... Out of every single desert tile? Yes, that sounds like a reasonable idea. 15 wealth every turn. I know I could get yields of the sea, but I don't have that many sea tiles. It's not worth it at this stage. Let's save enough for another army the very next turn. And keep on flagging whatever I can flag. Fine, let's get this hill tile. Still seems reasonable. Look at this. Look at the conflict over there. I'm so glad I don't have to get involved in that. However, I did take plenty of territory from the Canaanites. I feel bad for them. They could have had these mountains, and they don't. So they're not going to be much of a buffer for me for too long. Goldsmith or Celestial Navigation. Having movement cost across the sea. Sounds tempting. I did not proc salt mining. I'll not get the orchard anytime soon. Celestial Navigation does sound tempting. Never mind the orchard. Salt mining is so tempting. But no, not yet. Not yet. Let's deploy an army right here. What's the power situation? I need more power at sea. Or I just need to pump power. That's also a possibility. Let's go with wealth every single passing turn. Trade some of that wealth away for knowledge. And obviously keep on flagging. I'll need to pump power sometime soon. Do I want that 100? What do I even want to spend it on? Knowledge out of the sea? I don't even have that many sea tiles at my disposal at this point, so it's not that meaningful. I think it would be significantly more impactful and smarter for me to just start pumping power and to take this territory. Oh, you know, I could hypothetically just proc salt mining. Wouldn't be the worst of ideas. How many desert tiles do I have? 17. Surely that's enough. Let's not miss out on further opportunities. I'm procking sea mining. Next turn I'll have enough for yet another army. What if I were to spend all of that on science? I would have 154. Which is not enough to get food out of the desert. Let's pump power to 5. I should be able to make a dent over there. Even though I'll also be making a bit of a dent in the Canaanite territory, but whatever. I would love to say that they've had a good run, but they really didn't. Are they about to be bisected? No, they don't defend. They lose this, they threaten there. Fair enough. Slingers to get some more power for food or mineshaft. A desert eel tech for building a city on a desert. That's a good trade. I do absolutely want food out of the desert for just building a city there. It's expensive, but not as expensive as desperately trying to get enough science to get food out of there. Okay, what do I want? Power at sea, possibly? Or just more food out of sea plains? Let's get food from plains. The Canaanites are about to take a hill tile away from me. I think I'm willing to give that away because I'm about to take 2 away from them. It's a reasonably good trade. If it works out that way. And I want a decent bit of food next turn to be able to build a city deep in the desert. 35, so let's trade for that. There'll just be 6 power on me, but I think that'll be enough. Want it? Actually, the Mycenaeans just have 1 point of power there from a power tech. Slings are nasty. Did I not redeem? Oh, I didn't take the slings. Slings are absolutely wonderful. Not as good as bows, I would argue, but yeah, still pretty nice. Oh, I was supposed to get another army. Yes, and that's significantly smarter, I would argue, than just pumping power. You know what? I could also get a fleet and get all those sea tiles. So let's do that. I can also continue to pump... straight for enough food to get that city, get power to 3, and go out to our conquering. Yeah, this seems like a reasonable course of action. Once again, I'm going to lose out on an opportunity, but whatever. They swoop in to defend. Do they have enough power? They absolutely have enough power. Will they threaten? No, but I will threaten over here. Hard one piece, not gonna happen. The barracks opportunity, my favorite. I would have to ditch one of these or the mine shaft. The mine shaft is so precious. I wanted to redeem it right now. Do I get rid of the celestial navigation? No, I'm taking the barracks no matter what. Not the greatest of spots. I'm going for it anyway. We are reducing power waste because it's absolutely wonderful, and we are saving wealth, I guess. First of all, first things first, let's proc this. Over here, Skill Slinger is able to shoot the rocks at bullet speed. That is indeed impressive. I mean, yeah, false multipliers and all that. It may feel like I'm dismissive of this, but no, it's quite ingenious. Slings are awesome. And I have procced caravans as well. I've built that city, I've gotten food out of the desert, which procs caravans, which leaves me just with the barracks opportunity. Alas, I had to miss out on an opportunity in the process, but... that's how it is sometimes, I guess. That's how it is, how it can be. And on its own, it's just a piece of cloth, but once again, you apply certain principles to it, you think about it a decent bit, and bam, you have a sling, a functional weapon. Alright, I could save science this particular turn and get save food out of the sea the very next turn. Not the worst of ideas. I could get some power at sea, and this would still work out for me. 140, yes it would. Okay, power at sea it is then. That's a second power attack, and I'll have absolutely enough to get seals. Okay. So I have power at sea, I'm threatening here, they'll have to swoop in to defend right there. They have a limited number of armies, they can't do everything at once. The Mycenaeans are up here, at the top, doing the best they've ever done. In anything. I have to stop them. Of course they swoop in to defend, but now I threaten over here, don't I? And as you can see, the Canaanites are taking territory away from me. How unfortunate. Own most of the plains. That is not going to happen. All get archers for a boost to power. I could also mess with the Babylonians, but I think it's wiser to just stop the assault from... Actually, I have to stop the assault from the Mycenaeans, more importantly. They seem to have a decent bit of power over there, and that is not to my liking. Although they might swoop in to defend here, who knows? Yeah, let's just stay here. Defend against the Canaanites. Get food. I could get another fleet. Oh, you know, pump power for defensive purposes. Obviously, it's always for defensive purposes, isn't it? And instead of desperately upgrading cities in order to defend, I'll get additional tiles for better yields. This seems to add up. Check this out. This and this, this and that. The 7 cost tile over here, these 2 tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tiles acquired this turn. That's quite a lot in terms of yields. Every single one of those desert tiles gives me 4 units of resources. And those city sea tiles, 2 each. So it may seem like I'm not exactly necessarily doing the right thing over here. I might just lose some territory. It's still fairly reasonable. Actually, though, if I lose... No. There's no way they're taking this away from me. Are they? 6 from my unit, 2 from Tex. Do I want to back off? I might just lose my fleet. If I lose my fleet, it's basically game over, isn't it? Because my fleet will have nowhere to retreat to if all the sea tiles are destroyed. Well, I don't have the resources to retreat anyway, so let's hope they swoop in to defend for my own sake. Or did I have enough power to defend? They did swoop in to defend, thank goodness. They might still take this. No, I managed to defend. I hold off the Canaanites over here. I hold off the Mycenaeans over there, and I take one of the sea tiles. Tanning leather on 3 cities on the desert for desert power tech, or pikemen to get more power. I think the power tech is tempting. Do I actually want power out of the desert? I would prefer power at sea. Now, I do want to kick them out of the desert, granted. Well, in the short term, that's going to be quite helpful, isn't it? Because there will be permanent power in that desert to kick anyone out. Oh, and by the way, the power tech in the desert will help me kick the Canaanites out of here. So yes, this is brilliant for multiple reasons. All right. But I don't want to get that without first acquiring a couple more power techs. For the desert tiles, I mean. Let's roll with that, yes. Let's get 2 points of power in the desert, so that I'm all the way up to 2. And now if I build a city over there, I'll go all the way up to 3, right here, right now. Which will make retaking all this territory significantly easier than it was before. Move over here, move over there, and just like that, we are back in business. Oh, and let's reduce power waste. Let's also build a city right here in the desert, giving me an additional power tech. Oh, and let's not forget to flag all those precious tiles that are out there, waiting for me to flag them. To get even better yields. Will I be able to take territory away from all of these factions? I do not know, but I think I'm in a strong enough position to be able to do that. I also haven't procced the archers, haven't procced the barracks yet, but I'll get there soon enough, I believe. I'm not flitting in 2 spots at once, which is somewhat annoying, because they can swoop in and defend with just a single unit. However, I do take territory away from the poor unfortunate Canaanites. I'm bullying a weak faction. I shouldn't do that. I should mess with the Babylonians instead. They did take a tile away from me, whatever. That's a good trade. The Golden Age is unlikely. I would have to not get my territory threatened. I think it might make more sense to take the Assassins and pump my own power for a bit. Just to go out there and conquer. Just to take what I want to take. The Golden Age is notoriously difficult to proc. How? What? What did I am the first to get any sort of victory point, and I got it for spaces on the map, the sort of thing that basically never happens. Alright, I am reasonably pleased with myself, as you might imagine. I am proccing the barracks opportunity. Procced. So I'll stay at full power, but acquisition of power points is going to become easier and easier as time goes on. I could also get Celestial Navigation? No. But I can get those seals now. Better late than never, I say. Science out of the sea every single passing turn. Like the easiest to get, which? The power tech? Or the objective, Look, spaces on the map are they're notoriously tough to get. And of course, depending on the number of crowns, you have accordingly enough difficulties in a given task. So the spaces on the map for a single crown for a given map is going to be a small number compared to if we were to get, say, 2 crowns or 3 crowns for this. That would be, say, 100 for 2 crowns and 120 for 3 crowns or something like that. So getting spaces on the map for a single crown is the easiest it can be for getting any space on the map whatsoever, first of all. But if there are more than 3 factions on a given map, it tends to be next to impossible to get those spaces because conquest is next to impossible. I'm playing a particularly easy faction, so there's enough for me to flag. But look at all these other guys. They haven't gotten that. And for the obvious reason that they basically couldn't have. There's just not enough space. Even the Mycenaeans don't have that. And they have a decent bit of the territory. There's... How many factions do we have here? 8. There's 8 factions on this map. The only reason they... The only reason I've managed to get it at all is because I went largely unmolested throughout the game. Alright, so I can flag this, and I can begin to pester the Babylonians, as expensive as that is. I can also build additional cities, which grants me citizens, which give me science and wealth, and they bring me closer to the victory condition of number of citizens. Also, they bolster my defenses in the region. I dig myself further in. I will redeem assassins and archers further down the line. For now, let's see what I can do with what I have. They go over there, presumably also getting this. But I should be able to threaten here somewhat. Yeah, they kicked me out of the territory, unfortunately, and I don't like that. They went to attack and defend, I get kicked over here, and I threaten. Swords to Plowshares, very rarely useful. Vengeance, I would like for this not to proc ever, but we'll see. And as you can see, the Mycenaeans just got the space on the map of victory condition themselves. They got the crown. Let's actually let the Canaanites get these bits of territory. Might as well. I don't want them to get eliminated, because then, instead of having a buffer state over here, I will have to deal with all these guys all at once. Let's have the Canaanites desperately try to hold on. For now, let's mess with the Babylonians instead. Also, I would love to dig into the sea a bit, but might as well get all the yields I can while I can get them. So let's get these random bits and bobs, these random little things here and there. Another city over here, plus a city over there. It's quite a few cities in a single turn. But I'm largely on a roll. I could just pump power, or I could be smart about this and say recruit additional armies or fleets. If I want to defend over here, I think armies are the way to go. So, defend. Well, take over territory. Let's go with that. Yeah, let's roll. They'll presumably swoop in over here. But with enough in terms of armies and fleets, I should be able to kick them out. Oh, and I might as well get, say, science out of every single citizen. That'll allow me to snowball reasonably easily. The rest I spend on power. Any opportunities I should have procced? I'll swap out Vengeance next turn. I'll presumably proc one of these further down the line. I don't need that surge in power quite yet. Even though it may seem like I do. The Babylonians will The Babylonians did nothing. My power has diminished significantly enough that I did not actually take that territory away from them. Yeesh. I did that to myself. Year of Plenty or the Odyssey in... What? Hold on. Do I take the Year of Plenty over Vengeance? It's wishful thinking to an extent, but let's. 150, so science out of every single citizen. And now I'm pumping power. Logos, help me, I'm pumping power. I shouldn't be pumping power now, should I? Let's get another fleet and distract the Mycenaeans. They will not be able to ingress far enough into the desert to defend with a fleet. So they'll have to deploy an army over here or lose this bit of territory. And as time is going on, I will... not finance proc archers. And as time goes on, I will eventually clear them out of here because I'll get more power techs in the desert. I could also aim to fortify over here to make it easier for me to defend. I don't want to get kicked out of my own territory like this. So let's also do that. I could also move my fleet over here to possibly threaten this single sea tile. And just like that, things are reasonably looking up. I know the Canaanites are taking this single desert tile away from me. Let them. Oh, and in the meantime, as you can see, the Mycenaeans are busy at full power messing with the Hittites and the Canaanites instead of defending against me. At which point, I am threatening the territory to the south mightily. Catastrophe or academy? Might not be that easy to tell the difference at times. Trading for knowledge can become more effective. This can be reasonably nice if that's the way you want to win with power attacks. But allegedly I do not. Allegedly I wanted to get armies and fleets, city pop, and then wealth. How are other people doing? Very poorly. I should really just get on with things. I don't think I'm giving the best impression as far as this is concerned, but yeah, absolutely. Let's just get a new fleet, one more fleet, and I get 2 victory points. And then soon enough, I'll just have to save up enough in terms of wealth, and I'll win. So it may not seem like I'm doing much, and quite frankly, I may not be doing that much, but I'm still reasonably on my way to victory. I'm just not making too much of a big deal out of it. 146, what do I want with that? Possibly a desert power attack. I could get grassland yields, but come on, that's just +2. At this point, it's a pittance. 4 points of power in the desert, just like that, with no power pumped to speak of. So what's the power situation like in the desert? I think it's fairly clear what the power situation is like. They swoop in to defend as far as this tile is concerned, but I have 3 fleets over here, 2 armies over there. Yes, the Canaanites will take territory away from me. Good for you guys. Serious. Oh, they don't even manage to get that desert tile because I got power in the desert. Poor Canaanites. They never can catch a break. Conquer a desert space for 50 wealth. Don't mind if I do. I'll take that instead of the Year of Plenty, which is not gonna happen. What else? What else? More power in the desert? Power in hills would also be welcome if I want to mess with the Babylonians to any extent whatsoever. Power in hills it is. And possibly power in cities, or as I like to call it, siege tech. Do I just pump power? Why not? In which case, can I proc anything? I can't quite proc assassins because I've just done what I always do. I've spent science. Let's spend 20 food to get a city right here. That's 2 citizens rather than 1 I would have gotten out of upgrading that city. 1 city in the desert over here, next to the coast. That's 4 more citizens this very turn. How glorious. Wait, why did I not? Oh, right, I didn't have enough wealth. Never mind, never mind. It's bound to happen very, very soon. You'll see. The Mycenaeans are in 2nd place, and they are not anywhere near my level of success. Yes, I'm about to get this desert tile, which procs Caravansary, giving me 50 units of wealth, and now I can pick between horse archers or the uneasy truce. Not being threatened for 2 turns is quite a thing to ask for. Would I not rather get the horse archers and just emanate power? Let's emanate power. But more importantly than that, let's get another fleet, deploy it right here, deploy this fleet right here. By the way, that gives me 2 victory points for armies and fleets at 7. I just need 3 more citizens to get city pop from the pyramids, at which point I'll just need to save up wealth. As we have established at the start of the game, I just need that city pop. Let's build a city in the desert, that's 2 more citizens. How many more do I need? 1 guy. Well, 1 unit of population, whatever you want to designate that as. Let's have more power at sea. Trade absolutely everything for power, because why not? Next turn I should absolutely have enough in order to get that final citizen. You know, I could hypothetically start saving up wealth right here, right now. But there's one question I'm going to ask myself before I do that. And that is, how close exactly are the Mycenaeans to victory? They are somewhat close to having space. They're not close to getting anything. And they're certainly not close to victory by any stretch of the imagination. Tell you what, let's proc assassins right here, right now. For what? 2 points of power? Do I need those? Yeah, I need them to threaten this. Fine. Proc assassins just to free up a slot. If for no other reason whatsoever. And yes, I'm pumping power. I should be able to get these hills off of the Babylonians, and I should be able to get a decent bit of territory out of the Mycenaeans. Also, this city is threatened. They do defend the city. The Babylonians defend nothing, and the Mycenaeans defend some things, but I do get some sea tiles off of them. I do not, however, get the city on an island, but I do threaten this city on my coast. The Grand Bazaar to make trading for food easier, or the Hill Fort, conquer a hill space. Can I actually conquer a hill space? Might as well try. What do I need? A single citizen. When do I need him? Now? Let's get 2 citizens instead, which gives me 2 victory points. Fancy that. At which point I just need to save up wealth in order to win. Granted, I would prefer to win in style. It would be significantly nicer for me to be able to keep on conquering, and I am not particularly under pressure. I can take my sweet time. I can hypothetically go out and conquer, no one's gonna stop me. It's basically showboating at this particular point. If I was playing against actual people, they would presumably rage quit by now, so as not to get utterly humiliated. And since I've decided not to pump power from this point on, I will essentially be in a rough spot. I will not be able to easily conquer because I'm not projecting the power anymore. Now, the sort of things I want to avoid is losing cities, losing armies. That's basically it. I still conquer the city while not pumping power in the slightest. That's how much in lead I am. And despite, might I remind you, playing on a master, I can get catapults to get power despite not spending any wealth. Might as well get that. Might as well, because I am saving up wealth in order to win via this. So it stands to reason to try and spend as little wealth as I possibly can. Was I seriously pumping power by accident? I was, wasn't I? I was just not paying attention. Well then, mistakes were made. Alright, from here on out, I will not be pumping power, and presumably that means that I should reduce wealth waste. Otherwise, things will get pretty nasty. I will leave the final tier for now. I don't want to get that, because if I do, then I rob myself of the opportunity to get the Court House opportunity. Right, yes, I rob myself of the opportunity to get an opportunity. Fancy that. I still think this is the right course of action. By the way, at this particular point, the Mycenaeans are no longer in first place, and they can kick me out of some of the sea tiles, and I'll still be fine. The first place has been taken by the Elamites over here. Look to the east. Look at them, they're at 11 power. By the way, I've procced Hillfort and I've conquered a city. Despite not pumping any power, I've gotten a city out of the Babylonians, who are not doing so well, are they? My good, the Babylonians are in a tougher bind right now than the Canaanites. Unacceptable, look at this. The Canaanites have 2 cities over here. The Babylonians have 1 and it's under siege. Horseback riding or invasion. Invasion might very well proc. Might as well take this. As I am saving all of my wealth, I might as well guard against horrible things happening. What do I want? More wealth out of every single citizen of mine. Obviously, because I'm trying to save up wealth. And that's 36 units of wealth more every single passing turn. How much do I want? 600? 800. That's going to be difficult, partly because of waste. If I were to... Logos, help me. If I were to capture one more city, I would win. I don't even need to save up wealth. Also, I could get power text to win. Just one more city? I mean, I don't want to get ideas over here. It's possible, I guess, but let's not. Let's just save up. I know 800 is a lot and I know waste is going to be a factor, but let's give it a go. Yeah, let's try to expedite this victory, otherwise things are going to end particularly poorly for me. Let's not forget that the Babylonians have disappeared from history, by the way. Farewell. Let's not forget how well the Elamites are doing. They've just eliminated the Babylonians from history, and they seem to be a largely unstoppable force. If they get those victory points ahead of me, I'm going to be in deep. I could try to get the zoo. Hold on. If I get the zoo, what do I need? Pump power to 12 and win. How close are the Elamites to victory? They need significantly more city pop. They have a little bit of everything. This is an advanced maneuver. I could get the zoo and then pump power. I can win that way. It can be done. It's an alternative route, but it can be done. I could also continue to try to save wealth. That also can be done. Next turn I'll have 665. So it's basically 2 turns or so before I win. Is it worth it to throw that plan away, to just give up on the entire idea? It doesn't sound particularly wise. Let's just try to save up, I think. Do I want to do anything with science? I could hypothetically save that up to try to get the zoo. Well, I don't know, for no particular reason. I can't really trade for food. And the zoo requires 200 units of it. I'd have to trade for it if I am to get it, but if I want to get wealth, then I shouldn't spend wealth on anything. Let's not spend wealth on anything for now. It's a tricky choice, but I think this is the way to go. I really, really don't want the Elamites to get out of control. They're already at 11 power. I'm down to 4 because I'm not pumping. This is rough. Though I'm still taking the chunks out of Mitanni because they don't really have much to work with. They don't have much power over there, which is hilarious. I can finally take the courthouse, which I will, at which point I will no longer waste wealth at all. Spending 45 units of wealth, what's the point? Next turn I'll have 834. Actually, never mind, no. If I spend this, the wealth I would have wasted is saved up, meaning that I still end up at 800. Meaning that next turn I win, for the first time ever, on Master. Apparently it can be done. Well, obviously it can be done. Well, apparently I can do it. Apparently I can manage. There's not much else to be done. I just end the turn and win. Oh, by the way, that single victory point that the Elamites had, they've lost. They are still at 12 power, though. They're pumping power like mad, desperately trying to conquer. But little do they know, I have 2 points of power and just outright win. Because it's not about pumping power, it's about sending a message.
Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
And that's it, my first victory on Master in Ozymandias, granted with an easy faction, but a victory on Master nonetheless. And the victory points were collected as follows: 3 victory points for wealth, 800 wealth all more, the Haying Gardens, 2 victory points for the pyramids, so 30 city pop all more, 2 victory points for the Colossus, so 7 armies and fleets all more, and 1 point for the Great Lighthouse, so 70 spaces on the map all more. That is a whopping total of 8 victory points, one more than I needed, so it's even overkill. The Elamites had 2 victory points, one for the Great Lighthouse of Space on the map, 70 or more, and one full power, 12 or more, the Statue of Zeus. However, there was no contest, I was at the top for the longest time. And yes, the Elamites have made decent progress, getting all the way up to 2nd place, but alas, they've just jostled for position over there against the Mycenaeans and the Assyrians, but were no match for me. Not a single other faction got a single other victory point. There was no contest, and I could have gotten on for significantly longer. I could have eliminated these factions, I could have gone for conquest. I was free to do whatever I wanted to do, mostly because I was playing an easy faction. The Egyptians. And hypothetically, I can click and keep playing and go for conquest, but that really drags on and it can get quite tedious, so I won't. Either way, thank you all so much for watching, and you will see me elsewhere.